All right, welcome everybody. It's May 11th. It's our 14th week meeting. Quick recap from last week. We were making progress on the Docker image testing and documentation. We've made progress on the survey that got finalized last week. I got an update there to share. We're continuing to make progress on prioritizing, finalizing what's in and what's out for Mandel, and more progress on testing. So we'll check in on continued progress on all these items. Is there anything else to discuss today to check in, maybe older items or new items to add? All right, let's start with platform support. EOS Support team sent out the surveys this week, I think on Monday or perhaps on this weekend. I got an update from Randall. Looks like, 100 or so emails sent to dApps, 15 to decentralized exchanges, 169 to centralized exchanges. And they've also been spreading it across 76 different Telegram channels for various dApps and DEXs and centralized exchanges, and Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. So they've been spreading it far and wide, and no results yet to report in terms of responses. We'll be checking in on Friday to get a count of responses, and so we should have some insights hopefully to share by our next call. How are we doing on the Docker documentation and testing?
So pretty much everything's done. We got support for Windows 10, 11, Mac OS M1, Ubuntu, Arch. I mean, any kind of Linux you kind of want to throw at it runs perfectly fine. The only thing stayed up last night trying to work through was I wanted to get support for sort of web app stuff that we had in the web IDE, and I didn't quite get there. It's not that big of a deal, so it's not a huge breaker. But the documentation is done. I forked it over from the repo that I'd had in my own personal one, so the documentation that's there is not quite up to date. So I got to fix that after this call or go lay down for a little bit. But at some point today, I'll fix that.
Great. Sounds like we're pretty much there.
Where does it live? Where does the Docker stuff live, Bucky?
Yeah. So there's another thing. Is currently I'm just calling the tool and the thing that it is Dune. We can change the name to whatever we want to. The images. So I have a PR that's going up for EOS, and EOS VM that effectively gets rid of, or doesn't get rid of, but it allows for the M1 builds. And then what's the other thing there? It also has pinned builds and package management because I needed it, or a package construction because I needed it for this. So whatever Matt wants to do with that, he's full reign to go in and tear it out or do whatever he wants to. It's just needed it in there. So those two PRs will be in. The packages themselves. So the way the Docker image is set up is that basically it's pulling in packages that are currently in a repo that I'm calling ENF binaries just for right now until we do the main release. So the actual setting up the machine should be pretty fast.
So the repo is ENF binaries?
So the repo that you would want to go to would be just DUNE.
Okay.
And that's from the ENF's org.
Yeah.
Is that ready to, like, should we be including that in any of the documentation at this time, or still some work to do maybe to wrap up kind of packaging it up and I guess deciding whether that is the final destination or whether it's going to be something else?
Right. I would say kind of let Eve figure out if he wants to change the name of it to anything that we want, and then kind of go from there.
So it's kind of like a full suite testing deployment package kind of, and that includes Web IDE. So I know last week we were talking about Web IDE. I don't think that was originally in scope for this, right? Is that so?
Right.
That's something you added based on the feedback in the last call, which is awesome.
Yeah. So it also added. So it wraps over Kleos, KeosD, Node-EOS, CDT, and that was a bear in itself to kind of pull over CDT and then get all the weird pointing to EOSIO stuff fixed with that. So it actually does a lot. It wraps over a fair amount so that the end user, just can basically use it as a dev environment and not really worry about, oops, where did I put this node at? Where did those files go and that kind of thing.
Cool. So is this more than a Docker image? It's like a test suite kind of test environment.
It's a full-blown sort of dev environment is what I would call it.
Great.
Because the biggest thing I really wanted out of it was not just having Docker images and some sort of thin layer over it, because Docker itself is a nightmare. I've found this out. So the biggest thing I really wanted out of it was for the actual environment itself to feel like you were working with regular Kleos and regular Node-EOS, and not have to sort of worry about Docker stuff at all.
Right. Awesome. Great. So we'll keep checking back in next week to see where we're at in terms of the final packaging it up and all that sort of stuff. Awesome news we'll include in the broader communication we're preparing. Cool. Anything else to add on that topic? All right.
I guess the Docker images themselves, we can also still end up using the actual images for our own CI/CD and that kind of thing. So there's sort of a multi-level of utility out of this thing.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess the images are an element. You could go directly into the images, or you can abstract it and use your more full suite is a higher level abstraction.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. I don't think we checked back on this one here. Notice is Stan on the line. Confirm the pin compiler for 3.0 will work for Mandel, or recommend upgrade to alternative version.
Here, no, I didn't touch this one. Somehow I missed it from my agenda.
Cool. Well,
could you somehow ping me, or I don't know, copy it in Telegram?
Sure. This GitHub issue?
Yeah, the whole issue. It's fine. Somehow I just missed it out from.
So what's this particular one? Because for the stuff that I had to do, I ended up having to re-implement pin compiler because I needed to get that to work for the Docker image stuff. So would that suffice for this, or do we want something else?
I think we need something else. I mean, it just needs to be a reproducible compiling procedure, right? So
that's what it's doing.
So I don't know, what do I have to do there? I mean, maybe just, if you have already something for Docker which is reproducible, then we're done. I don't think we need to have many varieties here.
Yeah, and say it's just a small set of scripts for. It's really, really, really minimal stuff for the EOS repo itself to kind of pull down Clang's specific versions and then build the particular libraries that we need to build with Clang, and then build EOS. And that's pretty much
how is it different from what we had with this -i option in build script?
Yeah, so the whole thing was I didn't want to go back and retouch the big crazy build script.
-p, right?
Yeah, it's just a sort of very, very tiny.
And thank you, Ted, for sharing the link to the repo. I'll include a link here for our. So it sounds like we're covered. Dune already solves for this issue, so I'll check it as done.
Okay.
And,
I will have a look at this.
Okay.
But I mean, if you have something that works and can be used on Ubuntu without Docker.
Yeah, no, it's like that part of it has nothing to do with the Docker. I just needed to be able to have sort of that ability to build with a pinned compiler.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Beautiful. Okay. So anything to add on platform support?
There's a new stable release, long-term release in Ubuntu 22.04. Maybe we need to look at
22.04.
Yeah, 22.04. It's a new long-term release in Ubuntu. Long-term support. That means it will be available till at least 2027 or something. So it makes sense to target.
I think it goes until 30. I think it goes to 2030.
Sorry?
So it's a goodie.
I've already made the changes to Mandel to make it compatible with that. We're already compatible with building on that new Ubuntu.
Okay, so that's done.
When we start publishing binary packages, then
right. When we have binary, really what I want to do, to me, what I've wanted to do for a long time, but I got a lot of pushback prior in Blog 1 for doing it. But really what I want to do is I want the binaries to be more or less platform agnostic. So we don't have this sort of, we don't have this sort of situation in the future.
Nice, yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then you need to delete all the Postgres. I think is no longer there, right? But there are some weird dependencies.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that probably the one dependency that's still a problem in this Ubuntu case is like Ubuntu 20 ships with OpenSSL 1.1, whereas Ubuntu 22 ships with OpenSSL 3.0, at least by default out of the box. And yeah, those are sort of problems that make having a portable binary, so to speak, an issue right now. But I think that's really something that I'd like to see us migrate to, is have a binary that would be indifferent to differences like that.
In KOSD, there was also USB library or Bluetooth.
Yeah, and I've put I have a GitHub issue up asking basically for feedback on removing the functionality that requires those dependencies and replacing the functionality with something that does not require those dependencies. So I'm aware of that, and that is another one that's very problematic, particularly because one of those dependencies is LGPL, so we can't just like statically link into it or something like that. So I mean I'm aware of it, and it's within the scope of things that I'm trying to sort out so that we can have easier binaries.
If we split command line utilities from daemon in different packaging, then you reduce the dependencies, and we need we need separate client utilities, right, which are separate from the Node.js, just for also for alternative CPU architectures like ARM. So maybe in the long-term target would be just to get Clios and QSD away from Node.js, package it different and separately, and then you reduce the dependencies also.
And that sounds like that would not be in scope for Mandel, right? This is more of a long-term goal.
I think, it's, 3.1 would be to we're pushing too much on 3.1 already. So
yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Any other thoughts on platform support? All right, let's move on to code. Any updates on your side, Ted, or anyone else on how the finalizing of our scope for 3.1 is going?
I think it's going pretty well. We meet every Tuesday at 1, and looks like everything's coming in on time. OCI is kind of stepping up and cleaning up as much as they can, and getting extra stuff in there that won't blow the deadline or make it too risky. So everything's looking pretty good. So it looks like we'll be done end of May, going into Jungle 4, early June, or maybe even late May.
Great. So that's pretty well right on track with what were we predicting here? Where do I have it? I don't know. I lost it. So we're saying late May, early June, we'll have basically all of 3.1 features ready for testing.
Yes, and Matthew Darwin has an early build on a node right now that he's been able to look at some of the trace stuff, and so he's been running the kind of the latest builds that have quite a few features in already, and not seeing any issues, at least yet.
Yeah, the update I got from him was that, OCI is doing great work on the transaction lifecycle features. In particular, those should be done in the next few days, looks like. And we've already been testing all the new features as they come, and things are looking good.
Yes.
Beautiful. Anything else to add on code development / strategy?
Nothing for me.
All right. And testing, I mentioned already, Matthew's been testing the new features as they come. Any updates from anyone else in terms of their success or not on testing?
Well, I compiled it, and our public nodes, or our public node, the only one on Jungle 4, is now running 305 RC1.
All right.
And it works. I can query it.
So you're running, you said 3.1?
305 RC1. Let me just double check that. Pretty sure that's what it was. Jungle 4. Yeah, 305 RC1. And that's just on the public, the API and seed peer, and then we'll be moving the block producer over to that in the next couple of days.
Okay, public API and seed peer.
That's it.
BP coming soon.
Yep, it'll be there in the next few days. Yep.
And so far, so good. No problems from.
I tried to get it running on 18.04 in the beginning, and I didn't really troubleshoot it. I know that it was suggested to use 20.04, and I had some packages, some of the dependencies wouldn't work, and I just was like, let me just go into what was recommended anyway.
All right. I wonder if this is. We have anyone else? Oh yeah, here we go. EOSphere showing up on the validator, running Mandel.
Nice.
Would you look at that? Looks like you're configured correctly.
You sound surprised, Dan. Come on.
No, not at all.
Hey, Ross, it looks like you can blockchain. Good job.
Woo!
Need to go dig out my old EOS.
That wasn't patronizing at all. At all.
It didn't mean to be. I'm sorry.
You know what a bp.json is, Ross? Apparently you do.
I know. I just turned it off and on a few times, and eventually started working.
You hit it on the side a little bit. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
We were also looking to get Aloha benchmarks running. Do we know? Did we get any success with that?
I reached out. They said they would, but there was no timeline or anything. So they still have Jungle 2 on there, which is dead.
Right.
It's just priority, and it takes, I guess it takes time. So they did confirm that they'll add it in the queue at some point, but no, we don't have any timeline for that yet.
Okay.
Is Jungle, so last night we were having an EVM call, and it was brought up that Jungle earlier in the week started having a lot of forks. Have those been resolved? In general, I know Matthew, Ross, you guys were aware there were a few other people started forking off, and I guess Lib fell behind. Is that, or did we? Well, I guess two questions. One, I'm guessing at this point that it's good. Can you confirm? And two, do we know what happened as to why Jungle started losing Lib?
I do not. Anyone else?
Is Matthew on the call?
No, he's not. So I can check with him offline and report back.
Sounds good.
So reports that Jungle 4 was forking.
Yeah, Jungle. Yeah, it was losing Lib. It was creating a lot of micro forks, and just looking to see if we can stabilize it, because that's where we're pointing people to for EVM testing. That's where EVM is currently deployed on. And so we get a lot of reports from new developers that are outside of the EOS ecosystem that are setting up for the first time. And their first experience is that EOS forks all the time. So it's pretty bad. So if we could stabilize Jungle, that'd be great.
Okay.
Which also relates to whether or not, is it because of Mandel? Is it just because we've got a bunch of new BPs peered for the first time on Jungle in a long time? Just if we could figure out the cause, that'd be great.
Great. Yeah. And then there's value outside of Mandel testing to have it stable for the EVM stuff. We've got a lot of
for sure. Yeah, and whether or not it relates to Mandel is the idea. Well, it's also whether or not, like, is it something perhaps in Mandel? I don't think so. I'm thinking it's peering with BPs that haven't peered in a long time. But if we know, then it makes it much easier to then explain afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get an update from Matthew on that and report back. That's all I have on the agenda. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you all around.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Here's